the amount of children that have been killed and mothers. 70% of those who are killed are women and children. So it's really, really distresses me.
In recent months, the UK has found itself in a significant social and political challenge. The surge in extremist activity, both from Islamist and far-right groups, has prompted the government to take drastic measures. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's recent remarks and the subsequent actions highlight the urgent need to address this growing threat.
In a shocking increase in extremist disruption and criminality. What started as protests on our street has descended into intimidation, threats, and planned acts of violence. Jewish children fearful to wear their school uniform lest it reveal their identity. Muslim women abused in the street for the actions of a terrorist group they have no connection with. Now our democracy itself is a target.
But is deporting them the solution? Let's find out. Since the eruption of the Israel-Hamas conflict, the United Kingdom has witnessed a wave of passionate protests that have reverberated across its cities and towns. In London, the epicenter of these demonstrations, groups like the Stop the War Coalition and the Palestine Solidarity Campaign orchestrated several large-scale marches, drawing in hundreds of thousands of participants. These rallies were not just expressions of solidarity with Palestinians, but also fervent calls for an end to what protesters termed Israeli apartheid and all forms of violence stemming from the conflict.
As a historical trauma of 1948, when 750,000 Palestinians, including all of my family, were forced to flee from their homes, but as an ongoing process of colonisation, of dispossession, of ethnic cleansing and of apartheid.
The magnitude of these gatherings was unprecedented in recent memory, with notable dates like October 21st and November 11th marking some of the largest protests the UK has seen since the anti-Iraq war demonstrations in 2003. On these days, streets overflowed with banners and chants demanding justice and peace, underscoring a deep-seated public outcry against the ongoing violence in Gaza and its humanitarian toll. Here's a reminder to please like and share the video and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on immigration issues and policies affecting the global landscape. Let's continue now. Beyond the capital, similar sentiments echoed in cities and towns across the UK. From Edinburgh to Birmingham and from Cardiff to Belfast, people mobilized to voice their discontent and advocate for change. These regional protests not only amplified the national discourse on the conflict, but also showcased a broad-based commitment to standing in solidarity with Palestinians, irrespective of geographic boundaries.
Put restrictions on us, trying to make it harder for people to demonstrate, trying to criminalise protest. So this is all a serious issue, and it's something that we believe by demonstrating we are standing up to that.
The protests were not confined to traditional forms of activism alone. Students and activists took direct action, staging sit-ins at major transportation hubs and organizing school strikes to further amplify their message. These actions aimed not only to disrupt, but also to draw attention to what protesters saw as a moral imperative to challenge the status quo and advocate for Palestinian rights. However, amidst the passionate expressions of solidarity and activism, controversies emerged that cast a shadow over the movement. Reports of a sharp rise in anti-Semitic incidents, including hate crimes and offensive actions like the removal of Israeli flags from public buildings, highlighted the tensions and polarizing effects of the protests. These incidents prompted concerns over the safety of Jewish communities and led to increased security measures by law enforcement agencies. In response, government officials and community leaders called for restraint and adherence to legal boundaries during protests. The Metropolitan Police, in particular, issued warnings against disruptive behavior and emphasized the need for peaceful demonstrations that respect the rights and safety of all citizens. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak and other political figures underscored the government's commitment to upholding public order and protecting the rights of minority communities, including Jewish citizens. As the protests continue to evolve, they serve as a poignant reminder of the complexities inherent in advocating for global justice within local contexts. The challenge lies in balancing the right to protest with the imperative to maintain public safety and social cohesion. Moving forward, ongoing dialogue, community engagement, and responsible activism will be essential in navigating these challenges and fostering a more inclusive and empathetic society in the UK.
Long-standing parliamentary conventions have been upended because of safety concerns. And it is beyond alarming that last night the Rochdale by-election returned a candidate who dismisses the horror of what happened on October the 7th, who glorifies Hezbollah and is endorsed by Nick Griffin, the racist former leader of the BNP.
The corrosive impact of extremism has penetrated deep into the heart of British democracy, manifesting in disturbing disruptions and threats that undermine fundamental democratic processes and the safety of elected representatives. Council meetings and local events, once bastions of community engagement and governance, have been marred by disruptive actions orchestrated by extremist groups. These disturbances have not only disrupted the democratic functioning of local government, but have also created an atmosphere of intimidation and fear among participants and attendees alike.
And I want to speak directly to those who choose to continue to protest. Don't let the extremists hijack your marches. You have a chance in the coming weeks to show that you can protest decently, peacefully, and with empathy for your fellow citizens. Let us prove these extremists wrong and show them that even when we disagree, we will never be disunited from our common values of decency and respect.
Members of Parliament elected to represent their constituencies and uphold democratic values now find themselves under siege, with threats to their safety eroding their ability to serve effectively. The alarming reality of MPs feeling unsafe in their own homes reflects a profound erosion of public trust and security within the political landscape. The recent Rochdale by-election outcome stands as a stark example of how extremism has infiltrated the electoral process. The election of a candidate known for espousing controversial views and associations highlights the extent to which extremist ideologies have managed to influence public sentiment and electoral outcomes. Such developments undermine the integrity of democratic institutions and raise significant concerns about the direction of political discourse in the UK.
There are forces here at home trying to tear us apart. Since October the 7th, there have been those trying to take advantage of the very human angst that we all feel about the terrible suffering that war brings to the innocent, to women and children, to advance a divisive, hateful ideological agenda. Yes, you can march and protest with passion. You can demand the protection of civilian life. But no, you cannot call for violent jihad.
In response to these escalating challenges, there is a clear and urgent call for action. Addressing the threat posed by extremism demands a collective effort not only from the government, but from all citizens committed to safeguarding the principles of democracy. It requires robust measures to protect democratic institutions, ensure the safety of elected officials and participants in public discourse, and uphold the integrity of electoral processes against divisive and harmful influences. By confronting extremism head-on and reaffirming the values of tolerance, respect, and democratic engagement, British society can work towards reclaiming and fortifying its democratic foundations. This collective response is crucial in safeguarding the rights and freedoms that form the bedrock of a resilient and inclusive democratic society. No, the question is what the UK is doing to counter this. The UK government's response to the rising concerns over anti-Semitism and the impact of anti-Israel protests on Jewish communities has been characterized by a series of robust measures aimed at maintaining public safety and social cohesion amidst heightened tensions. In response to the escalating protests, particularly in central London, the UK government made the controversial decision to approve the deportation of Islamist protesters to Rwanda. This move was motivated by reports that these demonstrations had effectively transformed certain areas into what has been described as a no-go zone for Jews every weekend. The decision sparked considerable debate and criticism, with proponents arguing it was necessary to curb the disruptive effects of ongoing protests, which had increasingly targeted Jewish establishments and caused significant social unrest.
Anti-Semitism. This week, I've met with senior police officers and made clear it is the public's expectation that they will not merely manage these protests,
UK universities have taken proactive steps to address the involvement of Islamic students in protests deemed to incite anti-Semitism or violence. Legal proceedings have been initiated to deport students engaged in inflammatory activities during demonstrations, reflecting the government's commitment to safeguarding the educational environment for all students, including Jewish individuals who have reported feeling increasingly vulnerable and targeted amidst the escalating tensions. The UK's Counter-Terrorism Commissioner has also highlighted the need for heightened policing measures in response to the protests. Central London, in particular, has become a focal point of concern due to the frequency and scale of anti-Israel demonstrations. Law enforcement agencies have increased their presence to ensure the safety of Jewish communities and mitigate potential threats posed by extremist elements participating in or inciting violence during these events. The emphasis on counterterrorism underscores the government's determination to address the security implications of mass gatherings that have occasionally spiraled into confrontational incidents. But this has caused distress.
Now, anti-Muslim hate crime is at a record high.
You know, it hurts you a lot, when you think about that way, that someone would do that much effort to target a certain community to show their hate.
Do you think deporting Muslims is the solution? What do you suggest? Is there any better solution? Let us know in the comments section. Do you support Rishi Sunak's decision? Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If yes, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: immigration and its impact on societies, economies, and the global political landscape. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.